I'm sure. I just got home, but his car was there when I left about half an hour ago.
Okay, Tracy, is anybody else in attendance here?
We have Chief Gardner, we
Okay,
have Chief Worley,
all right,
Miss Hemmons, Miss
okay,
Cowdy, we have Mr. Irby. And as the people come into the waiting room, I will admit them in.
all right. What I'd like to do is, since we got Worley, we haven't had him for a while. Before we get to the heart of what we're going to do, is Dawson here, Judge Dawson?
No, he didn't, he's not on either, but I sent out all reminders twice this week.
All right.
But
so
both of your chiefs showed up and Miss Hemmons did, so that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah, I'll send you that out.
Okay,
But you may have to put the meeting password in.
well, we're going to proceed. We let the record reflect that the Health and Safety Committee meeting for Thursday, March 18th, we have a quorum.
And
Okay,
let it be reflected, Counselor Smith has now joined us.
Hello there.
okay, let the record reflect the Councilman, Ward 3, Ernest L. Smith is in attendance.
Greetings. Greetings. Thank you all.
Thank you. So we're gonna, I want to start with, if it's okay with the council people, let's start with Acting Chief Worley, and then get an update on the fire. We haven't had anything from the fire department in months, okay? Is Worley on, is he here?
Yes, he's there.
Okay,
Chief Worley,
Yes, ma'am.
all right. It's all yours, you get the floor.
okay, Chief Worley, just give us some things we need to know what's going on in the fire department, and just update us on things that you think we need to know, sir. Thank you.
Well, probably the biggest thing, just to help you appreciate, is the fact that as the fire service, we currently are losing lots of members to other cities, simply because we just can't compete with other cities financially. So we lose quite a few good guys on a regular basis. Probably have lost about 6 in the last 2 months, and probably about 3 more the next month. But as far as the equipment goes, we have a new ladder truck. Hopefully, the work will finally be started on that one. We have it all spec'd out. And so that's about a year out. But as far as the equipment goes, we still are dealing with older equipment. It was a good thing for the appropriations to be put in place, because we're going to need money to constantly make sure this equipment is prepared, or not prepared, but that it's maintained and in working order. So, but that's pretty much about all I have for you to say in the fire service at this time.
Do we have a, Chief Worley, do we have a cadet program at Shaw to help some of
I
these?
don't believe that cadet program's in place, but that really is not going to serve the purpose at this time anyway.
No, not necessarily for your staffing issues, but for getting East Cleveland, young East Cleveland is graduating to go in fire, go in police. I've already reached out to the schools. So if there's a meeting set, I may have you and Chief Gardner there, because we got to do more about getting some of our young people to go in the fire area and the police area. Maybe they can set up a program that would help expedite that. Okay.
That would be good. Doesn't work quite that quick and that simple, but it would be good to at least give them the option of knowing the schools that offer it. I don't believe the Shaw High School has a cadet program. Last I heard, the last instructor they had took a job in Akron. However, there are surrounding schools that have open enrollment, like Warrensville has a very good program for kids to go to. So if any kids were interested in the city of East Cleveland, they could go there, or at least see what they need to do in order to be able to be part of that school.
Chief Worley, you've been around for a while. Staffing issues in both police and fire is something new. What are we doing right now to make up for the non-police officers?
Somebody's mic is open, so it's affecting me hearing you.
It's a resident.
Okay, so there's a resident. I think they stopped.
Okay, now go ahead.
Okay, my question is, we're about to lose 9 officers.
Not officers, 9 firefighters.
I mean, 9 firefighters. What is your suggestion of what can we do to fill those 9 slots?
Well, right now I do have got candidates in the hopper, hoping that they'll go ahead and pass all that needs to be done as far as their background check and as far as the rest of the screenings that take place. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to pay our firefighters more. We are the lowest paid fire department in Cuyahoga County. We are the busiest, only second to Cleveland as far as workload goes. So guys come here and get lots of experience on fire and EMS, how to do it, how to be aggressive at doing it, and they take their talents elsewhere. So until we can start paying firefighters coming in the door the same as other cities do. I mean, firefighters know that they can go to other cities and come in the door making 50,000. We're not paying that. We're paying half of that. And so until we can start doing that, honestly, we'll have that revolving door that we've had for many years.
Well, thank you.
Councilman,
open
can
up-
you move closer to the microphone? We're having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. We get an echo. You're a little bit too far away.
Oh, I'm
sir.
about to go turn it
This
up.
one,
Nah, hold on. I'm about
hold
to
on,
turn it.
hold on a second, Tracy.
Okay.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open up for Councilman Smith, if he has any questions for our fire chief. Councilman Smith?
Thank you. Not at this time. Thank you for your service, Chief, and thank all of our great firefighters for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Appreciate the kind words.
Yes, sir.
All right, Chief Ward, if you want to stick around for a little while, we'd love to have you. I don't know if you have any other pressing things you need to do, but thank you.
Nope, that won't be a problem.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. My other colleague, Councilwoman Ward 2, Council Vice President, Juanita Gotti has a couple of questions for you.
I was hoping I could talk to her. I didn't know if you were gonna let her.
No, I actually was moving too fast. Go ahead. But we definitely want you to respond to her questions, okay? Go ahead.
To our chief,
Ms. Gowdy, move closer and speak a little bit louder, please.
to the chief,
Speak up, Gotti.
let's hold on. To the chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you fine.
That's actually is doing a wonderful job. You've been here throughout the years and you
Yes.
have not been getting a raise. Why is that? You have not been getting a raise and, other departments has been getting raises, but y'all, and you getting half of the salary of other cities or half of the salaries of when they're supposed to be coming into the door like for $50,000. So
Mhm.
I want to know what was the problem? What do you need us to do to increase the department salary?
Well, unfortunately now as chief, that falls under our collective bargaining agreement. That would be something our union would have to discuss. But having been on part of the union as a trustee and all, that's something that could be negotiated. I know for many years since I've been here, most of my career here, we've always been a fiscal emergency. So as a union, the fire department has always made a habit of giving and cutting what we have in order to give back to the city. That's just what the union has done over my 18 years of being here. And prior to my being here, we've known for giving back to the city whatever we have to give them financially. So that actually, though, was a negotiating conversation that could be had with our union president or vice president, anybody on the executive board. You're always welcome to schedule an appointment to talk with them and see what they can tell you. But unfortunately, I'm at this moment, I'm just not allowed to, just because of, if you're familiar with collective bargaining agreements and being chief, that's something that has to be said at the table, at a table rather.
the fire department is a very important department in our whole city, and we hope that we can negotiate this
Mhm.
and hope that we can get something done so you can get a raise and be at the average where you need to
And I'm
be.
not staying here till 9:30 tonight. just so you
That would be great. And again, like I said, that's talks for the union and for the mayor. I know we love the city. Most of the guys here love working here, that they come here and become attached to the city, even though most of them are not citizens in the city or have family. So they do feel tied to the city. A lot of them really hate leaving. And unfortunately, their usual reason for leaving is, unfortunately, we just can't compete financially with them. However, you do get some of the best trained guys. And like I said, my family, my mother still lives in the city, so I love the city, grew up in the city. And so it means a lot to me if we could be able to do even more for the city.
And this question is to the mayor. Mayor, is he in?
Yes, the mayor just popped in. Hi, Mayor.
Mayor, is we trying to do
Hold on.
something to give our chief fire department a raise? What is we get in plan for the fire department? Because we do have money now.
Did I hit it, man?
No.
Mayor King?
Talk to the mayor, to be right with. Mayor will be right with you.
Thank you, Ms. Kyle.
Hello?
He'll be right with you, Ms. Kyle said.
Belinda, we're waiting on him.
Tell him I'm trying to, hold on. Hey,
Trying to get the video going.
yeah, I can't, hey, guys, what's up?
How you doing, Mayor? Mayor?
Hello, how's everybody? I was trying to, see what I did with this. Okay. So we're here now. How are we?
Yeah, my question is we are we looking to give the fire department a raise? And how much is we gonna give them a raise? Are we looking forward to give them a raise?
So thank you for that question. So we talked about this at length over the last, wow, would you believe that it goes all the way back to 2019? We have been trying to give the fire department a raise. And the challenge with the fire department, as with other departments that have unions, is that there's a whole process you got to go through. So there's been a couple of times I was talking to firemen, and Willa gets on me, or Mike gets on me, like, hey man, you can't talk to them personally. It's gotta be like a certain way to do it. But to answer your question, yes, we are trying to give everyone in the city across all departments raises, and we've done that across the board except at the fire department. And it's embarrassing that we're leaders of this city and they get paid so poorly. So we're trying to rectify that. However, it's just been a challenge actually getting this thing done.
What we have to do? We got to get the union president on the line because we definitely don't want to lose the fire department now. And
So-
they are very, very important.
Council Vice President, when I sat in the council seat, I thought it was just that easy too. I thought, hey man, sit down, let's talk about it. Not that easy. Not that easy. Now that I'm sitting here, I can tell you it's more than a notion to discuss a contract, a union contract. The service department was a little easier because I think there were like 4 people in that department at that time. But with the fire department, it's.
We're working with Esposito to get it.
But I remember when they was doing maintenance around the whole city, they used to do maintenance work.
Yeah, that's a funny story that a lot of them don't like, because that was the former mayor, and he had them out cutting grass and stuff. and a lot of them still get bent out of shape when you talk about it. But yes, they were.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, but we just need to see what we do. We definitely need to know what we can do to improve our fire department of getting a raise. So if anything that I can do or the council can do to make it possible to work with you so they can get a raise, so we won't lose our fire department people, you know, the employees. We'll do-
Absolutely. Thank you, Council Vice President. We will keep you informed as the negotiations continue and we get closer to actually getting this thing done. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, are we still in contract negotiations for the fire union, fire people?
So it's been back and forth to Esposito, who's our rep and their rep. And it just, I mean, the whole COVID thing didn't help, right? And then you get fires and other emergencies every day that you're dealing with. So it's kind of like we have to continue to push the negotiation.
Okay, well, we're gonna leave it there. We're gonna move to the chief of police, Scott Gardner. And after he speaks, and I'm gonna have you say something, we're gonna open up for the public. That's the purpose of this meeting, for the public to ask any questions they may have. Chief Gardner, Scott Gardner.
Yes, Councilman.
Why don't you get started, please?
Sure. I mean, we are in full speed right now, the police department, as far as taking back the dispatch center. That's pretty much almost been my entire sole focus at this point, is trying to make that happen. Obviously, and again, thank you, Council, for the passing the budget, because that was my main constraint. I had a lot of things lined up for the dispatch center that can now start getting into revelation of where it needs to be with it. So right now, essentially, that's where primarily the police department has been going at this point, is getting that dispatch center ready. We have received, we are getting some equipment. We had to purchase some additional equipment to make the radios compliant, so that fire department, so we could stay on the same radio system that the fire department is using, which is critical, and along with other agencies in the county use the system. So we were, I guess, pretty grateful that the county was able to give us some of the equipment that they're no longer going to be utilizing, but we still had to purchase a great deal of equipment, and again, the construction of fitting that equipment into the dispatch center. I don't know if anybody's had the opportunity to actually go down to the dispatch center. It was a very small area, so we are having to expand that area at this point. So that's sort of where most of the intentions of the police department have gone. I know there's a couple of topics that you want to specifically talk about. I didn't want to touch on those, but I did want to report that as of now, violent crime actually has been in reduction, which is a huge thing for us. And I'm hoping that it will continue to do so through the proactive policing that we're doing.
Okay, how many dispatch people are you planning on hiring?
Oh, you can talk right now. It's muted. I just need to hear.
Counselor, you're fading in and out.
That's really there.
It's a Zoom meeting with the council president and mayor of East Cleveland.
Who is that? All right. Can you hear me, Reverend Police Chief Gardner?
Yes, I can hear you better now. Sure.
Okay, what was I asking? Yeah, how many dispatchers are we going to hire to get this dispatch thing up and going? Again.
Yeah, essentially, because we will be actually taking back over for fire department as well. So we're going to actually have 2 dispatchers per shift. So we're looking at a minimum of 6 dispatchers there, and then when we are going to actually have a dispatch supervisor to supervise the entire tax system. So it's a total of 7 dispatchers. And again, we're fairly behind the 8 ball with it because of hiring and getting them trained. So I mean, I believe the mayor had the opportunity, I think this Thursday, to interview a couple of potential dispatchers. And so hopefully we're going to have those in place here very quickly.
Will we have enough to back up when, if a dispatcher calls in sick or takes vacation or whatever the case may be, will we have the backup?
Yes, we will have actually several that are going to be part-time. They're actually going to be utilized for that purpose, for vacations, for call-offs of sick. And also we plan on having our dispatchers work 12-hour shifts. And because of the labor law, we have to provide them either with overtime or a Kelly day, which is sort of like bank time off. And so obviously we're choosing to use or elect the Kelly day. So the part-timers are going to be utilized to also cover those hours as well.
How do people know, Scott Gardner, that these dispatch positions are open? How are you getting the word out?
I believe Director Kyle has posted, I believe it's in the Plain Dealer. I'm not sure if that's where she posts. It's actually been posted on our website, the Facebook website or Facebook page, and the actual application is the Police One app page also. I mean, we have gotten pretty good responses, but again, I was just sort of obviously having to wait for the funding.
Okay.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Excuse me, I don't use the Plain Dealer, we use Indeed now. Correction there.
Indeed?
Yes, it's an online platform where people can apply for employment.
Is that much cheaper and effective, Belinda Kyle?
Yeah, a lot of people use Indeed now. So along with the platform the chief uses, we use Indeed for much of our hiring in the city. We also post it on our website and social media.
So at this point, how many people, since everything is open now to hire some dispatchers, how many people have we interviewed over the last few months?
So the mayor interviewed 2 or 3 people just yesterday or day before yesterday. And I believe we are bringing back a couple people who used to be dispatchers. Chief, you have your final number in front of you?
Yeah, we actually should be ready to roll with full-timers going forward. And like the Director Kyle stated, there's actually a couple of dispatchers that used to dispatch for us that are also willing to come on or come back. They want to come back. So, I mean, we should be good. Like I said, I was just waiting for the green light and we've got it. So we should be good going forward.
I believe we started posting a couple months back.
Okay, thank you, Belinda Kyle, Mayor. Chief Gardner, continue with your presentation, please.
I mean, I didn't know if you wanted me to Councilman, did you want me to comment on what you have on the agenda or?
Yeah, you can. The gun buyback, and I definitely would like for you to comment on the $13 million Governor DeWine has allocated for body cameras. And are we getting in that grant to get the best body cameras the money can buy?
Yes, we actually have been utilizing several grants for our body camera. Right now, currently, our body cameras are costing us, well, they were, it's actually going to be increased because we actually increased the number of body cameras. It was running us about $20,000 a year. I think we are up to around $26,000 a year now with the increase of the cameras that we're utilizing currently. We are using that grant that the governor has, as well as another JAG grant that Commander Gerhard was actually able to find to offset and actually pay completely for the cameras that we have now. I do know that Councilman Martin, you had recommended the Axon system, which is sort of the Rolls Royce of body cameras, which we would obviously love to have, but that system, the last time it was quoted was around $65,000 a year. So it was somewhat out of our budget. Now we have been shopping around. There's actually another system that I was just looking at that is actually somewhat like a cellular phone that it's actually constantly uploading into the cloud. And apparently you can actually even go in and view live feed from officers as it's happening. Again, it's constantly uploading to the cloud to recording. And I'm still waiting for that price though. Right now, I mean, there are cheaper systems. There are a lot more expensive systems. The system we have now is definitely not the best, but for the price and for the unlimited storage that we are offered, because I mean, that's where the majority of the pricing or the cost is on these cameras. It's not even necessarily the camera unit itself. It's actually the cost of data of keeping the film. So the price that we have now is actually a fairly decent price that we're getting. And I understand councils, you know, they want to look at different systems. And I want to look at different systems and have no issue whatsoever if council is able to find any type of other grants that we're not utilizing. I'd be all the more ears for it.
Well, my question to you and the mayor is, if the governor was here a couple of weeks ago, and he was, and I saw in the paper where he's allocating 13 million because of the situation in Columbus, I think we should shoot. I don't know if there's a limit of what we can get, but we definitely should try to get the Axiom body cams, the Rolls Royce of body cams. Is that our feeling? Is that our attitude to go up if we can get the best? If it costs us $65,000 a year, or is it $65,000 for a camera? How does that work?
Yeah, so just for the amount of cameras that we would have and the amount of storage that would be required. Again, the quote that we had received, I think it was right around when I became acting chief, it was around 65,000 for Axon. So it's not even necessarily the amount of cameras. The majority of the time, it's the data storage. Everything has to be encrypted. Obviously, there's audits so that, you know, obviously people can't go in and alter the videos. So there's a lot of systems in place that cost a lot of money, and that's actually what you're generally paying for is that type in the back end stuff, the data stuff that's costing a lot of money. So it's not necessarily even the camera itself. I mean, we can pretty much almost have as many cameras as we want. It's just the fact that camera obviously has to upload to something, to a cloud, to the data system, and that's what's actually costing most of the money.
And in this one that you talk about, if I'm pronouncing it right, Axiom, you can see the video from where you are in your office when the camera's on. Is that correct?
The Axon system, they may have that. That wasn't the system I was actually referring to.
All right.
The system I was referring to is not Axon, but it's almost like a cellular device. It's actually hooked up to the cell phone network, and you would be able to actually pull it up in live time.
Okay, well, I think that's a step in the right direction. Is Randy King still here? Brandon.
Right here, Councilman.
Yeah. What are we doing about going after some of that money to get the best body cams for our police officers?
Absolutely. We will definitely seek all of the funding that is available and that will become available for body cams. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, and if we can get the best, there's no limit on if we put in a grant for $1 million or $2 million or 500,000 or whatever the case may be, we're not restricted on what we can ask for, are we not?
So I haven't seen the grant, but typically grants do have ceilings. I haven't seen the actual grant come out yet. He just was really talking about the rollout of it. So I'm not sure if they have the specs out yet for this particular grant.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Going back to Scott Gardner, do you feel comfortable with the Axiom camera?
I mean, again, Councilman, I wouldn't mind looking at the system that I was at or waiting for a quote, the one I was talking about that could go live. I mean, I would like to have the best informed decision. I would prefer not to rush into something That, I mean, it's happened prior, unfortunately, for technology. We've rushed into technology that hasn't worked out. I would like the ability to maybe shop around a little bit and try to come up with the best system for us.
Right, well, I can speak from my point of view. I bet when you take the time to get it right, and whatever the case may be, I think that's a smart thing to do, Chief Gardner, okay? But update us at the next month on the progress with this, and I hope that I know some people that have experience in this area. One of our clerks has police officers in her family, and they have some of these cameras. So you might want to reach out to one of our clerks, because they were talking about the state-of-the-art cameras and what they consider to be some of the better cameras. So reach out, and I'll tell you who you can talk to, and let's see who we can get the best thing for the city of East Cleveland and our police department. Okay. Now I'm gonna see if Councilwoman Gotti has a question before you move on, and
Counselor
Councilman
Austin's in the room now.
Okay, Councilman Austin. After
Yes, sir.
questions, then you can answer your question to Chief Scott Gardner. He's got a little bit more to say in terms of what's going on with some other items. But right now, we're dealing with the body cams. And we talked about this $13 million grant from the governor, DeWine, and how do we go about and get it? And then Scott Gardner is going to look at what they think is best for our police that we can get through this grant. So that's where we are. But I'll yield to God if he has any questions on the body cam.
Thank you.
I'll get to that, but I want to ask him how many officers is he planning on to hire in the future? This year?
I believe that we have the ability, and don't hold me directly to it, because it's honestly been some time since I looked at it, but I believe with the availability to hire 7. And I didn't want to go on the coattails of the fire chief, but I mean, we also are suffering some of the same instances where we're having a high turnover rate. We're giving a valuable commodity to our neighboring agencies, because essentially the officers come get trained with us and they leave for other positions. But so I have also somewhat slowed the process down, because I think that we were losing a little bit of our ability to do due diligence on officers. So a lot of the backgrounds have not been coming back very, very good. And so my plan is obviously to hire those 7 officers that we're able to hire. So I'm hoping we can do that for this year.
How many do we have now?
I believe we are somewhere in the range of a little over 40, I believe, including part-time.
How many working cards do we have?
That's an excellent question. That's actually a day-by-day question. We currently probably have, there are 4 very decent cars that we have, and probably another 4 that we utilize as other, backup cars, and probably another 2 that are for specific details. So I mean, there's about 6 to 10 cars that are operational.
I mean, 6 to 10, or is it just 4? I mean, is it just 6? How many an estimate, you saying 6 to 10?
Yeah, I mean, because they honestly, I mean, some of the cars are very old in the fleet. So, I mean, they honestly go down on a daily basis and need repairs. So that's sort of why I'm saying 6 to 10. It's on literally on a daily basis, depending on how many cars are in the shop and how many are not.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask the mayor, how many cars do we planning on to buy this year?
Brandon King. Brandon,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here. What's up?
did you hear the question? The question was asked by one of the council people. How many cars are we going to be buying any new cars this year for the police?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We've already met with the brass about new cars. There is a Tahoe on order, or maybe 2 Tahoes on order. And once we get the appropriations in place, which they are now, we would come back to the brass to then determine the next 2 cars. Because remember, the Tahoes were basically slated for the warrant unit. And now we got a new chief, and the new chief wants to put some into the actual fleet. So now that they've had the one to kind of drive around and to see how they feel about it, it's really up to the brass as to if they want to go with the big Tahoes or if they want to go back to the, I think it's the Fords or some kind of mixture thereof. But yes, we are planning on buying, there's 2. We are planning on buying 2 more.
Total 4, that's what you're saying for 2021?
Yes.
The last question to the chief, which one do you rather have, the Tahoe or the Ford? The Tahoe or the Ford?
I'm sorry, was that to the mayor or myself, ma'am?
To yourself.
I personally prefer the Tahoe. They seem to hold up better and hopefully will last longer.
Aren't they more on gas?
They're roughly about the same. The Ford Interceptor engines are not light either with gas, so they're about the same.
How much is the Tahoe? How much are the Tahoe?
Mary, would you be able to interject? I'm honestly not.
So the Tahoes, it depends on the outfitting of the Tahoe. They top out at about 40, anywhere from 42 to 48, I guess, for the top out Tahoe. And the nice thing about it is they're on the GSA contracts. So you don't actually have to bid those out because you've already been bid out by the state.
And that's with the license stickers?
The license stickers?
Is the light and stickers included?
So that's what changes it slightly depending on how they then aftermarket fit it, right? So the Tahoe itself is one price, but then when you put the whatever cage you're putting in the back and whatever lights you're putting on it, and then the decals, you're looking at the most another $5,000, chief, maybe.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And how many dogs we plan on getting?
Well, ideally, we originally had 4 dogs. We had a dog for each shift. That would be my ideal allotment, but I'm not certain we're able to do that this year because it's not just the dog you have to factor in. You still have to factor in, there's still a significant amount of training that has to go into the dog and the officer, the handler, and also you have to have, a vehicle to utilize for that dog itself. So when you're pulling that vehicle for the dog, it's a vehicle that obviously cannot be used for other officers. So those are the factors. So, but I mean, ideally, hopefully, before I retire, 4 would be my answer.
Guys, is that it?
Yes, that's it.
I just wanted you to know, Scott Gardner and Brandon King, that Jack is a great friend of the council. So we know he has our back. Okay. All right. Councilor Tim Ray Austin and then Ernest Smith. Go ahead. Any questions at this point for Scott Gardner or the mayor?
Yes, I do have a question for the chief. Chief, as you take a look at your last year's estimates to get us to the budget that we are right now, what if any technologies have come out since you estimated for the 2021 year, if you will, that may be exceptionally beneficial to the police force going forward? Whether it's just cameras, a certain body armor, a certain technology for night vision, a system that would help enhance the, outcome of an event with, some of our residents or employees or people that you pass along the highways and byways, you can provide more safety to. The stop sticks that you're using right now, is that the best variety? What are those technologies that may benefit us going forward?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, pretty much honestly, everything the mayor has actually been extremely gracious to me. Anything that I have actually attempted to get, I don't believe that I've been denied yet. So going forward this year, the largest thing that I took back from my training as when I went back down to Apata for the new chiefs training was training itself and policies and procedures. So the mayor has allowed me this year to get a program called Lexipol. Lexipol actually is an outside organization that handles all the policies and procedures for departments. They actually make certain that the officer understands. They train and test the officers on it. That was sort of a costly upfront cost. It's not as much every year, but I believe it was around $30,000 upfront, just to make certain that we have the update policies and procedures that we need in place. I asked for LPR systems, which is the license plate readers, which is the ability to us to be able to see in live format, sitting again, and us having our dispatch center now will be actually very beneficial in this aspect, that dispatchers will actually be able to watch now the LPR cameras, and we're placing them on obviously and several of the hotspot locations in the city where we're having some, an uptick of violent crime. So the LPR systems was another thing that was somewhat on my wish list. Obviously, the utilization, looking into the new body cameras was huge. We just updated, again, bringing back dispatch. We upgraded our entire police record management system, which, again, through the mayor's approval, we were able to do. So now we have a very up-to-date system, not only for dispatch, but for the officers themselves. So, I mean, the stop sticks are a beautiful tool. I do wish to expand on getting them. I wouldn't mind having them in every car. Currently, we have 6, and they're not entirely that expensive, and they actually are under warranty. So when they are deployed, if they break, they actually are given back to us for free. So it's actually a great tool for us to have, especially with the pursuits.
One more thing, Chief, is the license plate reader, is that a mobile device where you can move it from one hotspot to the other? Or is it something that's connected to each vehicle? How would that thing be deployed?
They're actually going to be stationary. They're stationary fixed. And they are running through a database that we're actually going to be connected. We already have the county LPR system. I'm not sure if everybody is aware, right there at Euclid and Shaw. So we already have that utilization. Then we were just essentially adding to that. There was actually a story in the Plain Dealer, I can't recall what city, just actually, it might have been Mentor, that just actually recently also upgraded to a bunch of LPR systems in their city. And they're a huge advantage to us because not just because they read the license plates and tell us who have warrants and who's driving suspended. That's not exactly what we're looking for, but it has the ability to actually view live video. And that's actually part of the traffic system cameras that we're utilizing. So it wasn't actually that much more expensive to expand from our actual traffic cameras into that, but we are actually able to go beyond just even what we have physically for the traffic cameras. We're actually able to add on cameras throughout the city. So that essentially we're, again, sitting at the desk, dispatchers, police officers, supervisors are actually able to pull up immediately and see what's on the camera and see what's going on. I'm sorry, Councilman, did I answer your question or?
It did. It gave me a whole lot more information than I expected, which is phenomenal for me. I like having information, especially moving forward with the technology that's available that could actually help us, in the safety lanes and, prevention lanes, if you will. So thank you very much for the information, and looking forward to like a detailed plan on what it's going to look like for the optimal protection of our residents, and let that information get out so they'll know that you're being watched. So looking forward to more information, Chief. Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Okay, hold it, Dolly. Give Ernest Smith, you have any questions at this point for the mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no questions at this time. I heard some great questions and very informative answers. Thank you, Chief, for your service, and thank the entire police department.
Thank you. Okay, Dolly, one more question.
Yeah, I do not support the automatic plate reading. I don't support the license plate reader, because that one it costs the chase again, and we already went through the chase. When you automatic run the license through and everything, and if they don't stop, that's going to be another chase. So I'm not going to support that, but I am going to support the dog.
Counselor Martin, you have a couple residents with their hands up.
Yeah, I want to get to the question and answer in about 15 minutes, and we're going to get to all the public questions. So just tell them to hold tight.
Okay, they heard you. That's a good thing.
Okay, I want to make sure, Scott Gardner, continue with your presentation, please. And then when the next 10 to 15 minutes is going to open up to the public for you and the mayor to ask questions, where questions can be answered by you two guys. So continue, Scott Gardner, with your presentation.
Yeah, Councilman, I mean, the only other thing that I wanted to touch on, obviously you have the gun buyback program up there. I wanted to reiterate that I think that we are at our third gun, and there may have been more. I've actually been under the weather this week, so there may have been something this week that I wasn't aware of, but we had 3 guns that came back in. It's a great program that the council has assisted us with. And so I just wanted to make certain that we touched on that here before we move on. But the gun buyback is still happening while supplies last. And from what I understand, we still have several gift cards still left for it. So we're not, I want to make certain that that's out there so that everybody can take advantage of that if they want to.
Okay, I think we should announce to our public that if you turn a handgun in, you get $100 gift card. If you turn in a rifle, you get $150. And we didn't put any kind of limit. I guess if you come back 2 or 3 weeks later and turn a gun in, you still would accept that. They still can get a gift card, Scott Gardner.
Yes, just essentially call in. You can contact my office, or I believe the phone number is on the pamphlet there. Just make sure that you're making an appointment so that we know that you're coming in, and we're able to get you in and out real quick with a gift card. It's $100 for handgun and $150 for rifles.
Okay, Mayor Brandon King, are you still with us? Mayor Brandon King. Oh, okay, we're going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, before we open it up to the public, is there anything you want to say in relation to police and fire before we open up the question to you guys? The public is dying to jump in here and ask some questions. I'd like you to say something around the chase. Both of you to say something around the chase before we turn it over to the public.
So one of the things we've often talked about, and you hear me say it all the time, is safety first. So it is our responsibility to keep our residents safe, particularly our seniors and our kids. That's why we do the Safe Routes to School, and we do all we can to protect our seniors. So safety first. I really enjoyed the conversation today, and if it'll appease City Council, I will prepare legislation to bring to you for these new vehicles. So that will help speed that process up. We got legislation And I can't remember if it's for 1 or 2 more, but we're certainly gonna need more legislation. I can get that ready.
Well, I think everybody on council, especially, I think Brother Smith and Brother Austin, we're all in favor of that. So proceed, get that to us so we can act on that, okay?
Absolutely.
Yesterday, before you guys say something about your Chase, they had a rally up at Heritage Middle School yesterday. Councilman Kevin Conwell was there, Councilman Blaine Griffin. They've come up with something around that they're gonna send to me. Okay, and I'm gonna share it with you and the council and the chief. We gotta come up with something about the Chase. They're trying to do something, period. And it's not an easy thing. But again, I want to reach out to all of you, especially Scott Gardner. I brought up the fact that Euclid, Cleveland Heights, South Euclid, all the surrounding area, right around us within a mile, no more than 2, that we got to get them at the table so we can reach some type of agreement on these chases. I like the stop stick. That's helpful. But if we can coordinate all, and it can be done, situation all the way around. Everyone's concerned about the chases, not just an East Cleveland issue. It's an issue in Columbus. It's an issue in Cuyahoga County. So I was up there to hear what they had to say. I spoke with the 2 councilmen, and they said, "Mark, we'll get that to you so I can share it with our mayor and share it with Chief Gardner." Okay? So at this point, I think we're ready to open up for the public. And everyone asks 1 question. If we have enough time, you can get 2 questions. And make sure your question is answered before we move on to the next question. So at this point, I'm opening it up to the public. I see one lady with an iPhone on, and she got on a yellow top. So we can start with her. What's your name again? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, let the iPhone lady in, Tracy. I can't hear her. Go.
Can you hear?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
I can
Yes,
hear
we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Diamond Belmonte. I'm Vincent Belmonte's sister.
Okay. Continue.
So
You're fading in and out.
can you hear
Your
me better?
phone is freezing. Yes, you were fading in and out. You sort of froze for a moment.
I'm sorry. I'm at work. I actually came outside to join you guys.
Okay, you're fine.
But no, I just had a question for the chief of police. I've been actually waiting to talk to you for a very long time, let me tell you. But I heard you're making changes to everything and you guys are still going to chase. But in my brother's case, I have a specific question for you that I want to ask. Why did you tell the public that my brother turned around and said that the police officer was going to have to kill him if all the shots came from the back?
Okay, I mean, obviously, ma'am, first, I condolences. I have to be guarded because obviously this is a situation that's still pending, still being investigated, not only by the state, but it's still going through the process with the county. I can just answer that is the information that was supplied to me by officers.
That was the information that was supplied to you. Do you know I watched body cam footage where your officers let my brother lay on the ground while they were looking for a gun? They never, if they would have actually did their jobs and checked on the person that they had just shot 4 times, then they would have been able to, be productive. But to find out that one of your officers actually made the statement, let them lay there. What disciplinary actions are actually going to be involved? Because we watched Larry McDonald turn his camera off purposely. We watched him switch everything into one hand and turn his camera off. Y'all didn't do nothing about that. We heard another officer tell another officer, let him lay there. Y'all did not let him transfer them to the hospital in enough time. So in all actuality, my questions are, why did y'all let my brother just die? Because maybe it was something that y'all could.
All right, again, there's a lot of questions that I understand that you want answers to. but there's a
Yeah,
lot of
bitch, I
things-
do.
I'm sorry?
She's been waiting a long time. Don't give her extra time so you guys can respond to her questions. She lost her brother. So do the best you can. to be
I
honest
think
with
that
her.
there's somebody's mic on that isn't me or Chief Gardner, because I can hear somebody else.
So again, to go back to the response, I understand that you want answers, and in due time, you will be provided those answers. But I mean, there's a lot that I cannot discuss at this point. I mean, you obviously saw what you saw on the body camera. I mean, outside of that, I can't really discuss a tremendous amount about what's going on or what the case is.
So what are you doing for your officers? Are your officers actually going to do their training? Are they going to get mental health evaluations? Are they actually going to be going through training to actually have proper training to chasing suspects? They're shooting suspects that are running away from them, Chief. They're not shooting suspects that are running towards them. I need you to understand this. This is, if they're threatened by somebody running away from them, what are you going to do? You have a job to protect us, the people. Your officers are killing us. Y'all are killing kids. Y'all talk about y'all here for kids. My brother was 19. He is a kid. He was a kid. What do you mean?
Okay. I mean, I never made that statement, but I mean, again, the officers, from the evidence that I see, I mean, I've worked on officer-involved shooting cases prior. From the evidence from the body camera, the other physical evidence, I believe it to be a righteous shooting. I mean,
You
I'm sorry
believe
that-
him shooting in my brother? Okay, so let me tell you some facts. Since you just said you believe it to be a righteous shooting, I know facts, actual facts. I was at the hospital when my brother was pronounced dead. I got the call when they got into the police chase and everything. I've been there from start to finish. And let me tell you something. Your officer shot my brother 4 times. Once in the back of the head, once in the neck, once in the shoulder, and once in the wrist. You tell me all 4 shots came from the back. How was somebody feeling threatened by somebody that was running away, Chief Gardner?
Okay, again,
How is that
can't-
righteous? How is shooting somebody running away from you righteous?
I will hold this to myself to do. After this is finished, I will have a full-on discussion with you for however long you want. But until this goes through the courts, I mean, I'm not actually at liberty to discuss it.
Well, I look forward to that, because right now, listen, it's not looking like a righteous shooting, Chief Gardner. It's looking like y'all actually are putting the public in danger, to know that a menace is still out on your police force and he don't have no proper training. A couple of your officers don't have proper training. So they're technically peace officers running around with guns talking about they protecting people. I don't think that's cute nor funny that we're playing with people's lives here. Y'all are taking lives. My brother never, let me tell you something. You sleep on this, Chief Gardner. Have you ever been out the state?
Have I ever been out of state?
Yeah, just out of Ohio.
Yes.
My brother was 19 and never been out the state. And your officer, because it was a righteous shooting, my brother will never be able to go out of state. He'll never be able to live old. He's never going to be able to have kids. He's never going to be able to do nothing because you believed it was a righteous shooting. So you need to find better words for what you think is okay. Because listen, I'm not one that is a police hater. I actually wanted to be a cop when I grew up. But this is making me really, really not like y'all.
But this just to clarify, it's not my opinion or decision that matters. It's going to be the decision of BCI from the state that matters. I'm just telling you, I have been.
One thing that you can do is save the public now. You're still letting Larry McDonald on your police force. So what do you mean? It's nothing that you can do. It's plenty of things that you can do. You could save the public every day. Do you know, ever since my brother got shot on January 5th, 2021, how many people that have found out that Larry McDonald did it, and how many stories I've heard, and let me tell you, none of them have been good. So it's not like you will be losing a good officer and nothing. On top of that, he's being investigated by the FBI. So why is he even a sergeant? He wasn't even supposed to have a gun that day. Y'all know this. What's crazy is y'all, it's paperwork that proves all of this. And y'all still allow the mediocre. This is mediocre. We're playing with lives. These are real people here. These are kids. Y'all don't care about killing kids, old people, nothing. I don't understand it. I don't get
Councilor
it.
Martin, you've got several other people online now.
Is that your name correctly? I have your name correct?
Hey, Councilor Martin.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Who's the next person?
Mr. Irby.
Okay, Calvin Irby, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead, Calvin.
Hi. My question is, the recent phone calls on Elm Street with the labs and the prostitution, my neighborhood is really to know when it's going to be done. Hopefully
Mr. Irby,
soon.
you're fading in and out.
There's another lab that is on Elm Street. The residents want to know, when are you going to do something about the lab? There's another one started up at one end of Elm toward Hayden side, and there's a lab on the Coit side. Information has been given to, what is her name? Information has been given, it's in the office, and hopefully you guys can do something about it soon. I have more questions, but you guys won't be able to hear me where I'm at.
We are working on it, Mr. Irby. I mean, I don't obviously want to give it a first-hand account of what we're doing, but we are working on it. We are aware of it.
Okay, the next question. Excuse me. Next question.
I don't see any more hands up.
Okay. I'm going to see if my colleagues have anything to say, and then we're going to basically close out if there's no more questions.
Or somebody
Yeah,
named Esmeralda has their hand up now.
Okay, Miss Esmeralda, go ahead.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
The reason I got on, I just wanted to ask the question about the police chases. How do you all make the decision when to stop? There's no justification for a police chase at 4:15 going down Superior Avenue, none whatsoever. I mean, when loss of life is not something that I value life. And I'm hoping that everybody in the city of East Cleveland does as well. And when I see the police, I'm sitting in a car at a light and I see the police on the left-hand side of the road chasing a car down Superior. We're stuck. We can't move. All we can do is pray that they do not hit us. I think that's very unfair, only to find out that this guy, I mean, how many people did he murder? I don't think that was the case. And I'm just curious to know, how do you make that decision? I'm sure you all are reading license plates. You know what these people are wanted for. If you're chasing people for traffic, if you're chasing people for previous crimes, sometimes we just have to let it go. And I'm hoping that you all will make the right judgment in these cases, because I'm an innocent victim that's sitting there praying that please don't let these cars run into me. And only to see this car 5 blocks down crash. I don't know what he hit. I mean, they caught the gentleman, but I don't know what he hit in the process. He could have killed somebody. The police could have killed somebody, but it didn't seem like it was that important. And I'm just curious to know, how do you determine when to say no?
So certainly the traffic, the radio traffic is actually monitored by the officer in charge. They're taking into considerations of traffic. They're taking into consideration of pedestrian traffic, speeds, why we are chasing the person. There are a lot of, there's some misconceptions just because we were able to get a license plate doesn't necessarily mean the owner of that vehicle or that plate even belongs to that vehicle. So it depends greatly on, it's somewhat what it's called risk and reward factor. Why are we chasing them? What's the level of offense that they've done? And, what type of risks are out there as far as, like you stated, the lady that's sitting at the traffic light and has nowhere else to go. Those are all things that are updated and considered almost on a second by second basis through radio traffic to the supervisor. I would like to point out, there's been several recent articles, including the Inspector General from the city of Cleveland, that actually have called for them to actually increase their pursuits. And I still stand by and say that the city of Cleveland is a large majority of reason that people are attempting to evade police. And I would very much like to see, and Councilwoman Martin was supporting it, I would very much like to see the municipalities essentially get together and come up with some sort of unified pursuit policy. That way everybody is aware of what's going on, including the citizens, the lady, as you stated, at the traffic light. I made a mention earlier in the meeting, and I don't have anything as specific as yet. That's why I haven't brought it up, other than just pure observation that since all of these stories have been coming out and the fact that we have been in pursuits, that our violent crime has actually dropped tremendously. The shootings, the homicides, they have dropped tremendously since we have enacted this proactive policy of policing. So
okay, that's why he's doing that dumb shit.
It's something, I think somebody's unmuted and talking. So it's something that we have to gauge. Do we want the opportunity to have less violent crime through proactive policing, or do we want to simply allow the criminal to get away? And so, I mean, again, to answer your direct question is we monitor it on almost a second by second basis through the radio system, for the officer to the supervisor. And the reason that they do that is because officers get tunnel vision while they're in pursuit. And so sometimes they're not thinking clearly or in best judgment. And that's why it's up to the supervisor to gauge what the information the officer is giving them to determine whether or not we should continue the pursuit.
So can I follow up? When you say 2 second by second, my question is, do you really believe anybody going 75, 80, 90 miles per hour down Superior Avenue at 415 is able to drive at that speed, dodge all the traffic that is always on Superior, and give a play-by-play to somebody outside of the arena? I don't think so. There's no way in the world these police who are driving these cars are giving a play-by-play to someone else who's making a decision. I mean, you know as well as I know what the traffic is like on some of these streets. And Superior is one street that is always has heavy traffic. So I'm just saying, when you say they're talking to somebody via radio while they're going down Superior at 90 miles per hour, there's no way that you can justify that. Based on where they are, you have to tell them Superior is not the place for this. I mean, if you're chasing somebody who just kidnapped 2 kids, okay, I get it, but some of this stuff is not necessary. And from what you just said, them giving somebody else a play-by-play while they're driving 100 miles down Superior, you can't justify going down Superior at that rate of speed. You can't. And that's what I'm trying to get you all to see. You cannot justify that, because Superior is never a street that's as empty as some of the residential and other streets where people are not always in the streets. And that's all I'm saying. So anybody who's listening knows when he says, oh, I'm on Superior Avenue approaching 105, you're already in a bad situation. And that's any time of day. And you know that as a police officer.
The next resident up is Nikki. She has her hand up.
Go ahead, Nikki. Nikki, go ahead. Nikki. Nikki, going once, going twice.
Okay, next one's Mr. Irby.
Okay, well, he's asking another question. Go ahead.
Okay, is the fire chief still in?
Yes,
No.
I am.
Oh, okay, go ahead. I don't see him on my screen.
Good evening, Chief. The fire that was at the corner of Coy at the building, when that fire was reset the second time, we told the officers that was there, the firemen that was on site there, whatever happened to that situation due to the fact that that fire was reset?
To my knowledge, at this time, nothing was done unless, I'll tell you with arson, if it was arson, that's probably one of the hardest crimes, if ever, to prove unless you catch the person with the can and match in their hand, or the person confesses. But to my knowledge, nothing else became of that. That was prior to me becoming chief.
We sat there and the guy who set the fire was sitting right there. And we kept telling one of your officers that this was the guy who set the fire. He came out, he was burnt up from head to toe, and you guys technically didn't do anything.
And again, our job is to go ahead and investigate the actual fire. We do not investigate the person. And I'm not sure for a fact if he was not interrogated or even talked to. But again, unless somebody for a fact saw him and somebody can confirm that, then at that point, there's not much more as firefighters we can do for it.
Second question, Chief. Fire detectors, can you explain this season of how many fire detectors are given to home during this COVID?
For the last couple of years, if you have been utilizing smoke detectors rather, then the Red Cross is who handles that. So you have to reach out to Red Cross, and then they're the ones that will go ahead and send it to you or send it to us, is how it had been done in the past. And if you need us to install it, all you have to do is simply call us, and we will make time to come out that you were there to install them.
Final question, Chief. Fire extinguishers. Is there a program for homes that need fire extinguishers also?
At this time, there is not one in place that I'm aware of. However, we just tell persons who are looking for them, you can find them at your Walmart, Home Depot. You can always get them from those locations as well. If you want to know specifically, again, where to place them at, that's again something all you do is call us and we can tell you the best locations for them. Obviously, you would want to have them in your kitchen as one guaranteed place. Another one is in the basement at the bottom of the stairs in case it was something that was going on fire in your basement. People's dryers and the hot water tanks and other things are down there. So, but that's where you would go at this time. At this time, nobody has anything in place for extinguishers.
Thanks, Chief.
Not a
Miss
problem. Thank you
Nikki
for the
is
question.
Counselor Miss Nikki is now,
Is Nikki back?
yes. I
Can you
think-
hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Nikki.
First, I would like to say hello to everyone, and I do have a question in regards to Vincent Belmonte. I've noticed that no one says his name. That's number one, disrespectful to just a human, because he was a human who was eliminated on you guys' properties. So the city of East Cleveland, he's a human named Vincent Belmonte. He's not the situation. He's not the oversight that y'all try to make it. He has a name. So first, if we make him human, maybe the situations, because I want to know, what are the mental health standards that you have for your officers? How often is their mental health checked? How often do you evaluate these people? Because, you know, with the absolute power comes absolute corruption. And it doesn't change the fact that you hear your citizens saying to you that Pac-Man, AKA Larry McDonald, has been harassing them. So it seems more personal that y'all egos are getting into play instead of listening to your citizens saying we feel more in danger with this person in uniform than not. So I'm trying to understand why I'm hearing you invest money into more things that can offer your people more times to terrorize people. What are you doing to make, because they don't make good decisions. That's why East Cleveland's in the situation it's in, because these people are not making good decisions. So how often, where's the money being invested to see how creepy and crazy y'all officers are? And the people, I'm trying to understand where are those monies going for mental health and things of that nature, because it's not like they make great decisions. Their comprehension is kind of off. Like the lady said, if you're going 90 miles per hour and you're giving information to another individual on the phone, how are you focused at going 90 miles an hour plus speaking on the radio? And we're seeing that they're making creepy decisions that's costing people's lives and causing post-traumatic stress syndrome on your city. So you're affecting thousands of people to be able to say that your penis is big because you caught one person for some weed or something. because you're not catching killers. I'm trying to know your mental health standards. So how often are they evaluated mentally? What are your standards for mental health?
Sort of a wide angle to address there. I'm not certain. Are we just addressing the mental health question, or?
It's obvious that your cops are a little off. It's obvious. So I want to know, what are your mental health standards? How do you mentally evaluate the people that you give a gun? And you hear people saying that I don't feel protected by the people that you've chosen. So my question is, how do you mentally evaluate not only yourselves, but others on this force? Is there a mental health program? Do they have places they can go? Do every 6 months, every year, you may evaluate these people mentally? Like, I want to know these types of, that question. That's not a hard question.
Yes, obviously when they're hired, a psychological, well, let me just retort back. I don't, you've given me one example that I don't even think is actually a fine example of why you feel the officers are not mentally there, other than the fact of becoming police officers to begin with, because I find it a mental challenge that anybody wants to be in this field at this point. But they are analyzed when they're hired. They are analyzed any time that they request. We have EAP, the city offers EAP assistance for anybody. But there is no set protocol. I mean, obviously after a traumatic incident, like an officer involved shooting, things of that nature, officers are counseled and coped with. We've actually had several groups come in over the last several officer involved shootings to make certain that the officers are fit and are adjusting okay with the situation. The biggest thing is if public feels that an officer, there seems to be a tremendous amount of complaints relative to Officer or Sergeant McDonald, but the issue is there's hardly any complaints on him whatsoever. I find it ironic that all I do is hear what a horrible officer Sergeant McDonald is. However, there's very little internal affairs complaints that are ever lodged against him. I would honestly say that there's probably far more support from the community that I've heard, because Sergeant McDonald does care for the community, does go above and beyond for the community that he resides in, or not, and works in. I feel that he actually has a lot of benefit to the city. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yes, some lady actually wanted to file a complaint for a complaint on Larry, and Dominic King was not around. There was no paperwork or anything. So nothing at the front desk at all. So how can they file a complaint when nobody there? Paperwork is there.
Well, there are Councilwoman, our complaints are actually online now. And we actually just purchased a system at the beginning of this year to actually monitor complaints. So it actually, any officer involved complaint, any type of use of force, any type of pursuit, they're all tracked in this program now. And they actually there's actually an analysis done, and it'll actually flag after X amount of pursuits or use of forces, so that a supervisor can pull the officer aside and basically make certain that everything is in good order. But you are correct. Prior, the system for internal affairs complaints were all paper. So prior to me being chief, I can't speak to the process. But again, starting this year, everything is actually in the electronic program now. It's actually online. So anybody can file a complaint on an officer, and it's digitally tracked through the entire process.
Okay, another question I need to ask you. Is there any complaint forms at the front desk at all?
I'm sorry, was there any complaint? I couldn't.
Are there any complaint forms at the front desk now?
Yes, there's still complaint forms, and if there's not, the officer can simply just log into our website. It's again right on the website. So, I mean, there's no reason that complaints cannot be taken.
But we need them at the front desk because, the reason why I'm asking this question, because there's a lot of people had filed a complaint on Larry McDonald. And when it come looking at his file, the complaints ain't even in his file that the people actually were filing. So that's why I'm asking you, do you have the files of Larry McDonald's complaints that people been complaining about?
I mean, I could have internal affairs pull his internal affairs file. Again, I know that there have been a couple of complaints have been made, but all of them have been unfounded.
Because they're not in his file no more, because when I look for those complaints, what they was complaining about, in his file is no complaints there.
I don't know if they're specifically in his personnel file. The internal affairs complaints are governed separately under the Sunshine Act. So they're in a separate internal affairs file, not meaning that it's not open to the public, but they are in an internal affairs file and not the personnel file. So if you requested his personnel file and there's no complaints, that's probably the reason why.
Yeah, because it wasn't even no discipline complaint when he let this young lady out of jail, you know, and he was suspended, and it's not even in his file. And that's
Okay.
supposed to be in his file because he was actually punished for that.
Okay, I do not, I honestly don't maintain the personnel file, so I don't honestly know. I mean, there should be a reference in there, at least the green paper, the order that I sent out for the suspension. But if it's not there, then it would definitely be in the internal affairs file.
It definitely have to be in his personal files too. I believe that. Thank you.
Okay, Tracy, any more questions?
But it was only supposed to be one question per person.
I know, it didn't go
Yeah.
that way.
So Mr. Ruby has his hand up again, but unfortunately you're down to
no,
6
he's already
minutes.
asked too. What about Courtney Hood?
He's on, but I don't see, no, she didn't put her hand up.
No, it's a female. Courtney Hood. We've allowed everyone to ask more than one question.
Yeah, I see,
Yeah.
Miss Hood is in there, but she didn't raise her hand to ask if she wants to speak. You got 6 minutes left.
Tracy?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Not-
it. Chief Scott Gardner said to Ms. Belmonte that he's willing to sit down and talk with her. I think she should follow up on that. And we will be following up on some of the things we discussed in terms of cars and a number of items. The gun buyback program, how that's progressing and that. We're waiting for a report in the next few months from the Bureau of Criminal Investigation on the shootings we've had. We've had a lot of chases over the last few months, so that's a concern. So I'm urging the chief of police to ask the officers to actually use discretion, especially on streets like Superior and Euclid. There's heavily traffic all the time, not only with cars, but with people. And I think all of it has to exercise some type of common sense. But you can only go so fast in a pedestrian area where people are. So I'm glad that we were able to get those who took the time to ask questions. They've been extending this invitation to follow up with Chief Gardner, those who want to do it. I will follow up with him. I'm waiting again on the information from Cleveland. They have come up with a policy on chases. Basically, to make a long story short, what I saw yesterday was if it's a felony or something like that, that may justify it. But if it's misdemeanors and stuff, they're coming with a policy to back off the chases. But we'll get the information and we'll share it with the council, the police, the chief of police, and the mayor to see what we can come up with. And again, Scott Gardner is right on point. We're trying to get the East Cleveland, Cleveland Heights, Euclid, South Euclid, come together, the police chiefs and the safety directors in those municipalities, to see how we can coordinate this that will cut down on unnecessary chases and that type of thing.
Counselor, it's a neighbor of Mr. Irby's that's why Mr. Irby has his hand up. It's his neighbor across the street that wants to ask a question.
Okay, let him go on. That's the last question. Go ahead. Sir, go ahead.
Civic Center field. The Civic Center, the walkway filled for the Civic Center is getting a lot of traffic on. Nobody's coming to find out what's going on with it.
Say that again. You lost me at the beginning. The walkway what?
The Civic Center filled on Elm Street is crowded with cars all the time. After 9 o'clock. They're just parking there and playing. Buying drugs or whatever it is, but they're always there at 9 o'clock running back and forth.
Are you talking about in front of the Civic Center, sir?
Elm Street side.
Elm Street. All right, well, Chief Gardner, can you respond to that, please?
Yeah, I definitely will have officers look at that. As I was talking to Mr. Irby earlier, we are aware of some situations that are going on Elm that we're currently looking at, but I will definitely make certain that officers are looking at the parking on by the Civic Center from Elm.
Okay, we're going to wrap up now. I want to thank the mayor, Chief Scott Gardner, the public, Calvin Irby, Esmeralda, Nikki, Randy King, and everyone, and our council for their participation and taking the time. I'm going to defer now to the councilman, starting with Smith. Any comments? Then if Austin is still around, then Gowdy, and then myself, we're going to close out. So we can start with Ernest Smith. Brother Smith, anything you need to say?
Thank you, Councilman. I just want to offer my deepest condolences to the Vincent Belmonte family. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Austin. Is he still with us?
I don't see him online.
Okay, Juanita Gowdy.
Yes, my condolences go out to the family also. To me, a Chapman law will be, it will become law in 3 days. So the chasing will have to stop. It will have to stop. And also, the things that's coming up, like we are asking for the fire chiefs and them to get paid some money. They need some money in their pocket like everybody else got money in their pocket. They got families too. So I'm really was disappointed to hear that 9 of them is actually getting ready to leave. So if we're gonna have to come together and find a way to give them some money that's going to keep them into this city like everybody else got money in their pocket. So we can find grant money and money for everything else. We sure enough can find money for our department of the fire department that saves houses and lives. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor King, are you still with us? I see him up here. He's muted. Tracy, he's muted.
He has to unmute himself, sir. Mayor King,
okay.
Do you want to follow up with any? He might not be by his computer, sir.
Okay, well, I wanted to be an hour and a half and we're there. So Chief Scott Gardner, I'll follow up with you on some items. So I'll be getting with you. We'll be back here next month, hopefully with some answers. I will get you the information when I get it from the council people in Cleveland on their policy, and chase policy, and we can tweak that. I'm reaching out to you again. Let's bring these Euclid, Cleveland Heights, South Euclid is a mile, no longer than a mile from us, to see how we can coordinate this and maybe we can save some lives. Thank you very much. This meeting of the Health and Safety Committee is adjourned. Thank you.
6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Right on time. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye, people.